In 2017, I was on CNBC. I believe it was CNBC, and they asked me the question of how high can Bitcoin go? Right now, we're in a situation where the larger macro markets, which are the S&P and the Nasdaq and all the trading and the fiat world, is impacting the crypto scene in a large way. There's been a lot of uh, regulatory sort of speak that's been coming out from the U.S. And that's caused some concern for some people. A lot of people are looking at the interest rate that's going to be coming out from the Feds, worried that that's going to have an impact on the market. So because of that, everything has kind of taken a wait and see sort of an approach. When you look at what's happening as far as Bitcoin goes, you have a situation where it's been floating around 40K for like ever. Actually, the last 4 weeks, as a matter of fact, has been around the same level, and we haven't seen that kind of extent of we haven't seen that kind of price action going sideways that long in over 2 years, I believe. And because of that, everybody's expecting some kind of breakout up or down, right? And of course, that's anybody's guess. Now, what's happened aside from Bitcoin, there's the altcoins. The altcoins haven't been performing so great lately, primarily because there is more Bitcoin dominance happening now. More people are moving into Bitcoin. Currently, I believe the dominance at currently over 60% right now. So that's got a lot of cryptos basically a lot of the altcoins are down, but a few of them are shining stars. Among them, Dogecoin, which took off thanks to Elon Musk once again with his announcement that he's going to be acquiring Twitter. And because of that, of course, lots of people are expecting more integration with Doge because of that. And then there's a few other stars that are shining, but they're they're not on trend. It's not necessarily a trend. It's kind of like a moment, just like crypto. It's volatile, right? So that's what's going to happen. Okay, so back in what was it? Back in 2017, I was on CNBC. I believe it was CNBC, and they asked me the question of how high can Bitcoin go, right? And on that show, I said it could likely go to $100,000, right? And that was back in 2017 that I said that, right? I preface it by talking about the Winklevoss twins. I was just like, oh, like the likes of the Winklevoss twins are saying it could go to $100,000, so nobody can come back and say that I said $100,000. but I didn't. I learned to be more firm with my own predictions. Obviously, it didn't go to 100. It got to 20, went back down. But here we are, floating around 40 now. So you got to think about the fact that Bitcoin as a market, as a total market cap, is currently only about 1 trillion. Like it's floating below $1 trillion, right? And there's a huge amount of uh, of institutional interest in Bitcoin now. So if even there was like a 2% movement of, say, like a major institutional hedge fund moving into Bitcoin, if there were pensions that were going to put just like 2% of their total value into Bitcoin, we would see something in the neighborhood of like a $400,000 Bitcoin. And that's just a small percentage, right? Now, as a matter of fact, just recently, as a matter of fact, today, Fidelity announced, I don't know if you heard about this, Ivan. Fidelity just announced that they're going to be allowing they're going to be accepting 401ks to be able to put it into Bitcoin now. And Fidelity manages trillions of dollars. Okay. So imagine that everybody is now going to be able to direct their 401k to be able to go into Bitcoin. Before they couldn't do that. They just been able to start to do that. So this is going to make it so that all that money that's going into pensions is now going to be able to move to Bitcoin. There's ETFs that are being approved, so that means more institutional money is going to be able to make movements. So it's going to take it takes just so little of the current market capitalization that's going on, like, in the world to come into Bitcoin to make it go to, in the next 10 years, easily, and I'm being conservative with this, easily within the next 10 years, it'll be over $1,000,000. There's no denying that. You look at the size of the markets as they are, the inflation that we've seen. Even as I say $1,000,000 Bitcoin, you got to think about what's happening with the value of the dollar today and where it's going down. So, as fantastic as $1,000,000 sounds, $1,000,000 Bitcoin sounds, in 10 years, that could sound to us today like $100,000 when you think about the rate of inflation and the rate of the value of the dollar going down so quickly, right? So I think that within the next 10 years, $1,000,000 is very conservative. If we see more of a collapse happening with the current markets in terms of the value of fiat, and we see more countries uh, moving away from the US dollar, then the value of Bitcoin is going to appreciate while the value of the dollar is going to depreciate, which means that the $1,000,000 Bitcoin it's yeah, you're talking about millions now. We're talking about possibly in the neighborhood of like 5 to 10,000,000 type Bitcoin. So being able to have zero point 0.1 of a Bitcoin today could be life changing to a lot of people in the next 10 years. Think about the appreciation of a savings, for an investment for the future. Um, I know that some of that sounds fantastic. Maybe it sounds like uh, Bitcoin maxi kind of talk. But the truth is that you got to look at the size of the market at where we are now. It's still early. Like we really are early. And there's still so much room for growth. Um, will it reach beyond that? Possibly. But just the other day, uh, I believe the Central African Republic actually started accepting Bitcoin as uh, as legal tender. So just like El Salvador, you have now two countries, and that's one from South America, that's one from Africa. You're going to see more and more of these small countries start to adopt it. It's going to be, I believe, some time until the larger ones will consider it, simply because they have so much power with their fiat as it is. They'll probably be late to the party. But I believe that as we see more of that attrition of the current financial system uh, just scrape away at what's left of its rotting bones, you're going to end up seeing them turning over to it as well. There's just going to be no choice. So I believe that within the next 10 years, you're going to see conservatively $1,000,000 Bitcoin, or it might be something but we may not even in the next 10 years, to be truthful, we may not even be looking at things in terms of dollars. Like the concept of like there might be a mindset change to where we don't look at the price of things in dollars anymore. We look at the price of things in sats, right? Like how many sats is that burger? It's like, oh, it's 0.0001 or something. Like we won't even think about it in sats anymore. We'll think of it in millisats, right? So we'll think of it like, oh, it's 1 millisat, right? And then that way, that's how we're going to get away from uh, the difficulty we have of the 8 precisions from one, where normally with dollars we only have two. We have 2 cents to deal with. Here we have 8. So I think people might get into millisats as being the common vernacular, and then they're going to actually start calculating things in that way. And then of course, when that happens, uh, who cares how much it is in dollars, right? Bitcoin is worth a Bitcoin, and 10 years from now, how far that Bitcoin goes when there's only 21,000,000, technically probably only about 16,000,000, then that are actually in circulation, uh, you're gonna see just massive amounts of I think you're gonna see entire cultures shift to actually speaking in coins, in bitcoins and in sats rather than speaking in their whatever their local currency is. Yeah.